Well, you might notice that there's a few things missing from the front of the car. Yeah, we gotta redo some work. Let's get right to it. Well guys, I made a couple mistakes. So, last video, right, we got the intercooler pipes all made, and you notice that the intercooler is missing. The oil cooler is also missing, and that is the reason for everything being back apart. So, if you remember back to when we mounted this, I had it up here just like this. And I got to thinking, well, wait a minute. If we got that mounted like that, isn't the oil just going to drain back down into the oil pan when we shut the engine off? And it turns out it might. But the bigger thing is, there's also no way to get the air out of this. It'll trap air in there and not cool efficiently. So, yeah, we got to redo this. I've got an idea, though. So I did check, and Fluidyne, that's who makes our oil cooler here, does recommend mounting these either with the ports up or sideways. That way, there's room for air to get out, and also, it would potentially help with drain back when you shut the engine off. I did check with Chase Base, who makes our oil filter adapter, where the lines will be coming off, and they said it's not an issue, so I'm guessing they have an anti-drain back valve in there. But, to be safe, we're going to mount this just like this. So I think what I'm going to do, we got these brackets on here. Yeah, we got Rex out here helping today. I think we got these brackets here that mount the bottom of the intercooler, and I think what we're going to do is just weld on a piece of aluminum to each one, come out this way, grab right here, and then I think I might do a bracket on the top up to up here. Should be fairly simple, I believe. The hardest part really will be welding that on there, which shouldn't be too hard with all the aluminum we've been doing lately. So yeah, let's get right to it. All right, just a couple pieces of aluminum cut to an angle bolted on there. And I think we're gonna basically put it just like that. That keeps us spaced far enough away from the radiator and the intercooler that we got plenty of space. Now, I just need to figure out how the heck I'm gonna hold this here while I tack it on here, because I gotta tack it on here so that those brackets don't move, since they hold the intercooler in place and I can't move that. So let's, I'm gonna have to think on this. We'll figure something out. All right, got those welded on pretty easily, but I think we're definitely going to want to do something on the top here because of how these brackets are made. I'm not 100% happy with them, but they're going to do. But there's some flex, some vibration. I would worry that these would crack over time. So we're going to do something else on the top. But before we do that, we're going to make our AN lines that run over to our oil sandwich adapter. That way we know there's no interference. Oh, by the way, I did put a little gusset in the bottom down here so that there is a little bit of support there. It's not just this one weld and it's sticking way out like that. So that will help, but still, I still want to make the other supports just in case. All right, I got one of the hose ends on. This is for in there. Actually, it's going to be for both ends, but we're doing 90s in there and out here. So I'm going to throw this in there real quick. We'll get first one cut. We got some nice holes right here. Just run that right through. There you go. Cut it right about there. I'll go throw the fitting on real quick. All right. Well, I just went ahead and got both hoses done. They're all the way in there, and if you can see down in there, connected to our sandwich adapter down there. Run up here. I attached to the inner fender. We are good to go. I do need to do something real quick right here. As far as rubbing, I'm gonna just wrap this in. I don't know, what we used to do is wrap stuff in like radiator hose and stuff just to give a little extra protection, just so that the hose itself doesn't rub through. But that looks good on there, right? So now that is all done. And actually, now that I think about it, everything to do with the oil system is done. All the lines are hooked up. We have our line running around to the turbo, the drain line. Last weekend, after I got done doing the other stuff, I made a quick bracket to hold on the dipstick tube because there's no place to mount the dipstick tube to this intake manifold. So I just welded up a quick bracket out of aluminum. So everything in the oil pan is done. Everything with the oil system, yeah, everything is done. So we can actually start putting some oil in it. Let's do that real quick. So I believe I mentioned this before, but I'm just using the cheapest oil I could find at AutoZone because we're going to be changing this after a couple hundred miles anyway. And this is what, 5 quarts. So the stock capacity is about 6 quarts. And then we got that oil cooler here, which I can't remember exactly how much that is. So probably start with 6 quarts, see what it does after we start it up. Why I'm holding it the wrong way. So that's 6. Let's do 7. We know it's going to take more than the 6. Good enough for now. So after I got those lines on there, I was messing around looking to see what I could do for a bracket for the top, because this is definitely not going to do. There's too much flex in it, like I mentioned before. Worrying about vibration. So I quickly came up with this. I think this will work fine. It's just a piece of 1-inch aluminum flat bar. I already had a hole here. And it's going to mount just like that. Really easy to make. You know, there's no welding. Just this aluminum bends super easy, so I just twisted it over. So I'm going to go, let's bolt that one on, and then we'll make up another one just like it for the other side. Oh yeah, that's way, way better, especially once we get the second one in there. There we go. That should work really well. It's nice and solid now. It doesn't move at all, essentially. So we should be good, and hopefully we do not have to take any of this stuff back again. So I'm going to throw the intercooler on real quick. So we got the intercooler back in, except for I haven't put my bracket on that we got from Godzilla Raceworks that you guys know goes right here. Looks really nice. Now, if you remember back when I first put this on, we had to space this corner up a little bit because it's recessed down right there. And what I did before was just stack a few washers, but I've got a better way to do that now. So I picked up a 3D printer. I've been wanting one for quite a while now to build, you know, cool stuff and car parts. And actually, technically it's for my birthday. My birthday's not for another few weeks, but a bunch of people chipped in and got it for me because Bamboo Lab, and that's what I got for a printer. I got a Bamboo Lab P1S. They're having a sale right now. They're like almost 50% off, so I couldn't wait. I picked one up, and I got it Friday, and I've been using it a little bit. I've done a few prints, just prints that other people had already made, and I just printed with, you know, with my printer. But I took a little bit of time, and I've never done this before. I learned how to use CAD software. I went with Onshape. It's a browser-based CAD software. Super easy to use. I found somebody who does some good tutorials, and this is really basic, right? But I printed my own spacer. It's just out of black PLA. So I'll probably need to redo this with a more high temp filament at some point, but I thought this would be a good first test for this, and just to see how I did with, doing the measurements and designing it in the CAD software. But it came out, really nice. It's essentially just a plastic washer, right? But it's way cooler than stacking washers in there, and I got no other way to do it. This one I printed to go on to hold the HVAC in, because right now, again, I've got a bunch of washers in there where the part of the HVAC mounts on the firewall had a tab on it to begin with, and we replaced all that sheet metal on the firewall over there, and I didn't re-put that tab in there because I didn't know exactly where to put it at the time. So we just get it through bolted, and I printed off this spacer to go in there. So I don't know, it's pretty cool, I think, being able to do this stuff, because I don't have any way to machine metal or anything like that. So this is a good alternative, and I'm planning on using this 3D printer to, maybe do some 3D scanning eventually and make brackets and stuff like that instead of making everything out of metal. Just something that I think is pretty cool. And I know there's quite a community around 3D printing car parts. There's a couple of really big Facebook groups and stuff like that. A bunch of YouTube stuff where people, that's what they do, is they make car parts. And there's a lot of different materials that you can use. Like, I picked up some carbon fiber infused filament. So it's really high temp, really strong stuff. So you can do way more than just, little trinkets, little toys and stuff like that people associate 3D printing with. And honestly, that Bamboo Lab printer, it worked really well. I didn't have any issues with it right out of the box. It printed perfectly, default settings. What I read is if you go with other brands of printers, they don't work right out of the box. It's a lot of setup, a lot of issues, a lot of manual calibration, and the Bamboo Lab, that's why I went with them. It just works right out of the box. I literally did nothing besides let it run the auto calibration. So if any of you guys have used 3D printers, I'd love to hear, your experience with this stuff, because I'm really excited to start making some cooler parts than just spacers, but it's going to take some time to learn CAD software. All right, so continuing on with things that I messed up, I'm going to show you one other thing. And I already fixed this one, but if you remember back when I modified the exhaust manifold, we put that V-band down there for the wastegate. I also modified and capped off that little tube down there that comes off of this coolant pipe that goes all the way back from the water pump back underneath the manifold. Well, I shouldn't have done that, because I didn't even think I need coolant supply to my turbo, and that's the easiest place to get it. So I took that tube back out. Luckily, you can snake it out of there without taking the manifold and turbo and everything off. I cut off where I welded it, and then I just tacked on, I did little tacks with MIG wire so that there's something for the hose to clamp against so it doesn't slip off. I also, this is the heater part of that tube, the big part of it. This is the heater core supply, and what I did is, this was way out here, so my hose would have been really close to the downpipe. So I shortened that up, did the same thing by MIGging on some material around for the hose to clamp to tighten up against. And this is actually the hose that came off of here and went to, or it came off either the return port up top or the supply, I don't know. But came off this original engine. So that's going to work for this one to go from up there to, I think, this port. I believe this port. I'll shorten it a little bit and we'll get it. But I don't have one that'll go from here to the other port for the heater core. So for now, we're just going to loop it so it doesn't leak. And then I'll, at some point, drive it to parts store or something, see if we can find a hose that'll match. So that's good enough for now. So I had to, like I said, re-modify that. I did drill my hole for my wiring harness down here, so that's now inside. What are we going to do now? There's a bunch of stuff we can do. I was thinking of doing brake lines, because I really got to get that done, because this is going to be a pain getting them behind there. It would have been nice to do that before I put the engine in the car, but we're well past that point. So, however, since I bought a coil, it comes in a coil, and you really should straighten it to look nice. I'm going to 3D print a straightener. Somebody already has a file for that, so once the 3D printer is free, I'm printing something else right now. I'm going to print that. So we're going to hold off on the brake lines for today. And I think I gotta get another box. We're going to throw something in real quick. So let's get this box open. I haven't opened it at all yet. You might already be able to tell what this is. So this is obviously our drive shaft. And I got this made by Full Torque Driveshafts. Really quick turnaround time, decent price. I hadn't heard of them before, but I saw them on Google. I did some research, and yeah, I had good luck so far. Good communication, all that stuff. It seems to be high quality. I got 3150 U-joints on both sides, so plenty strong enough. I did go with a steel drive shaft. A couple reasons. One, it's cheaper. Two, apparently you get a little less harmonic vibration and everything from compared to a aluminum drive shaft. And this thing is so short that the weight savings wouldn't have been that good anyway. So obviously we got it made for our CD09 up here, our Mustang Super 8.8 diff down here, and it should just bolt right in. So if you are putting a drive shaft with 1350 U-joints on your CD09, you have to pop this piece off because the U-joints hit right here. It just pops right off real quick with just a big screwdriver, pry bar, or something. And then this should pop right in place. And it even comes with new hardware. And I will be putting Loctite on this stuff. Just want to get these started. Dab of blue Loctite on each one. Nope, that's way more than a dab. Alright, and we'll wind all these in. I can't get a socket in here, unfortunately. And apparently I don't have a 17mm ratchet wrench, so this is going to take a while. There we go, it's all in, all tightened down. Fits nice. Full Torque drive shafts, so I would suggest checking them out. Seems like a really good drive shaft. Like I guess I hadn't heard of them before, so I don't know if they're a new company, but yeah, I would recommend buying these guys again. One thing I still got to do, which I had kind of forgotten about, but we need to redo our transmission mount at some point, because when I built it originally, I didn't leave any space for the exhaust to come through, so we need to redesign that somehow. I'm not 100% happy with how it turned out, but yeah, I got to get some material, figure out a design how I want to do it. But we do got to do that. All right, now that we got the drive shafts in, I can finally torque the crank bolt down. Haven't been able to do that yet because we had no way to lock the engine from spinning. So even though we don't get brakes, so I can't put the parking brake on, I'm hoping that this will work. I got it in 6th gear. Let's see what happens. It goes to 239 foot-pounds, so it's pretty strong. Yeah. Nope. Nope. Gonna have to wait till we got parking brake. I can't keep it. Or we got brakes in there and I can have somebody hold the brakes. So I still can't quite get that even though we got the drive shaft in. We'll try later. All right, guys. Well, I think we're gonna finish this one off here. We got quite a bit of work done, even though it was rework. And you know, having to redo work sucks, but I think it turned out better overall, we got that oil cooler mounted much better now. Got our hoses run, so we don't have to worry about that. Like I mentioned, the oil system is 100% all put together. We've got oil in the engine now. You know, pretty symbolic. Pretty good milestone, I guess you could say. That 3D printing stuff, I'm really excited about that. Got those 2 little spacers made. I'm going to keep messing around with that stuff. I found some really cool prints to do that I want to try. And, you know, I'll keep you guys informed about that because I think it's pretty interesting doing that stuff. But, you know, I guess, you know, that's about it. I'm not going to talk too much here. Next week, we probably will start on the brake lines, which I'm really, really not looking forward to. But, you know, it's got to be done. We'll get some other stuff to do. We're getting really close. So anybody has ideas on coolant hoses, I would really like to know because I got to figure something out. My thought is to cut this off and aim it more closer to that way because this really is designed, the coolant inlet is over here somewhere, I believe, on the L series engine. So they send the hose over there, and it's not going to work for me. So yeah, we got to do that bottom one down there. Let me know what you guys think, but we're really, really getting close. I'm going to end this one off now. Leave some comments, you know, as usual, that helps out a ton. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Share the video, you know, let your friends know, post it on Facebook, whatever. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.